Hi, everybody. And today I wanted to talk about INFPs and listening with a couple of caveats. First, that I may not be an INFP. Second, if you identify as an INFP, you may or may not have similar experiences. So this may or may not resonate or may feel different to you than the way I describe it. None of that would validate or invalidate the way that INFPs experience listening. I just thought I would make sure just to say we're all unique creatures and that's the way it is. Final caveat, I'm wearing my hat of disappointment today because you really don't want to see what's going on up there. This hat of disappointment is covering hair that's not fit for human consumption. So I will be better groomed in future videos, but I just wanted to knock this one out quickly today. So INFPs and listening. Let's start with Dr. Dario Nardi, who does the Neuroscience of Personality, I think it's called, and he's done a number of studies where he hooks up different personality types to EEGs, I think they're called. Basically sticks probes on their heads and reads their electrical impulses from the surface of the brain, and based on those readings, he's come to some conclusions such as people he believes are INFPs show that they enter a certain flow state when they are listening intently to something for a period of time. Now, I sat down with someone who is also, I believe, an INFP, and we compared notes on this. And the way we saw it, we are more likely to tune out than we are to tune into people. And in fact, we have, if anything, trouble paying attention. And there's a lot of zoning out that happens when people are talking at us, and then we suddenly reappear. And it's like, okay, what do we say now that we've just missed the last 2 minutes of detail? So the whole idea that Nardi says that INFPs are great listeners is not entirely true. In fact, it's probably most of the time not true at all. Where from personal experience, I do think it holds water, is if it's a person that the INFP is vested in, that they have interest in, and or the topic is something of interest, then it's feasible for the INFP to get into this deep, intensive listening mode, which Nardi believes is a sort of flow state based on the way that he reads the brain readings, and that they're all, I guess the whole brain lights up in some much way or other. Anyway, to describe my own experiences with what I believe is happening when that flow state is entered. So this is just speaking from personal experience to try and put a description around what Nardi says he's seen in this flow state. When it's a topic and or a person in whom we've got this deep interest, then we are able to tune in very deeply into what they're saying. And what's happening is, on several levels, you're taking the INFP along for the ride. So it's this opportunity to experience and mirror what we believe your emotions, or what the INFP believes your emotions were as you went through these experiences. As you tell the story, we are along for the ride, emotionally and or feelings-wise, but not in a way that's judging the storyteller, but more in a way of taking in the information and processing it very actively for what does it mean to me? What's valuable to me? What was valuable to this person? How does all of this tie together in relevant ways? What makes it relevant? What makes it important? So not a moral judgment, but valued judgments of importance in the context of the morality of the storyteller. So quick side note, this isn't for people who think that INFPs are big on social justice warrior issues. That's not really a big INFP thing, I don't believe. Again, speaking personally. But what's happening instead is with this listening, it's an opportunity to experience through someone else's morality or perspective how they felt, what they went through, what it meant for them. And that is a very valuable thing in terms of broadening the scope of experiences that we can draw from or we can hold to extend from our existing contexts. Meaning that there's also an SI angle to all of this, that we're not just along for the ride in the emotional or feeling judgment territory, but also in making this story relevant to our own experiences. So it's part of we can feel sympathetically by drawing in the concepts and ideas that we have experienced in the past to drop into kind of the context of what we're being told here. So if we have an experience of being humiliated ourselves, and we are hearing the story of humiliation that the storyteller is relating to us, we cannot just say, how is this relevant to us, but we're drawing from our past experience to how is this humiliation the same to what we've felt, and how can we emotionally call that back up again to feel what you must have felt, our interpretation of what you must have felt. Thirdly, there is an any angle to all of this, which is we're also along for the ride in terms of, and then what happened, and then what happened. As in, there's this anticipation and kind of foreshadowing of what the future actions are and where the story is going. So at any time when all this intense listening is happening, there's sort of this branching of, and this could have happened, or that, or this other thing, and these possibilities would then open up these potential reactions. And yes, it's not telling to the one single endpoint of the story, but it's like all of the possible little, all the possibilities are sort of in play as each new piece of information unfolds. So we're not only along for the ride for relating the experiences and the emotions, but also for what is going to happen and how would these different outcomes play in terms of, feelings wise, experientially, and so forth. So as you can understand from this, there's a lot going on when there's someone listening intently to your story, relating to past experience, emotionally, feeling judging wise, and kind of predicting intuitively and looking at the future possibilities as the story unfolds. It's a lot of depth, which makes this sort of a story, when we're interested in you and or the topic, it makes it valuable. It's a precious gift to tell an INFP something that's deeply personal, that shows your vulnerability. And in turn, I would suggest that it makes the INFP vulnerable as well, as they are opening to you this deeply personal link into their own heart and their own feelings to understand through your eyes what you experienced. Even though it's sympathy and not INFJ empathy, those sympathetic feelings mirror what we believe or what we feel that you would have experienced in that situation. It's our own feelings interpreting how you must have felt. So yeah, this is, again, it is a precious gift to give that to an INFP. So thank you for those of you who do open your hearts if and when it's appropriate. And as a final thought, this may also explain, though again, your mileage may vary, why some INFPs, male INFPs in particular, tend to be more aloof. It's because when you have the potential to open yourself up and be vulnerable this way, that's a risky thing to do. And so it seems more the safer option not to go there and to close off as much as possible and not make oneself available to just anyone to think that, like, let's share this deep, meaningful experience. It is something that I myself don't do often, let's put it that way, because giving of oneself to go through and live through someone else's experiences, especially if it's something of difficult experiences, it is a precious gift, but it has baggage, it has weight to it, and therefore it's precious cargo to be handled carefully. So I think I've said my piece. Thanks again for listening, and wherever you may be, I wish you a good morning, afternoon, evening, and day. Bye for now.